Hey everybody, you're listening to Smoke Meat. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. As always, we are brought to you by Joe's Underground in Augusta, Georgia at the corner of 8th and Broad in the bottom of the Lamar building. Joe's is still closed right now because of the quarantine, but rest assured they are going to be back. Right now they do have some really awesome t-shirts on their Facebook page. Go to that, Joe's Underground on Facebook. Get you a t-shirt, show you support, show you love. When they get back open, gonna be one hell of a party, and I know I'm gonna go. Because I know Jeremy and the gang down there know how to make you feel like you're at home. From the first time I walked in, had straight love from everybody. And it's like that way every time. You know, them, the people that go there, great food, great drinks, just a great place to go. Remember, I goes to Joe's and so should you. Now today on the podcast, got a very special guest, a young man by the name of Jean-Pierre Giagnoli. He is a model. He is also an actor, and also, what's really cool, paranormal investigator. Y'all know that's right up my alley. So we're going to talk about all kind of stuff today. It's going to be a lot of fun. May even be some twists and turns, who knows. But without further ado, here we go, boys and girls. Let's rumble. Hey, how's it going today, man?
Good. How are you?
Oh, dude, if I was any better, I'd be twins. I'd be twins size weather right there in sunny California.
Nice.
Oh man, yeah, we're sitting on about probably 65 degrees out here, so I'm digging it. Nice and sunny, nice and cool. I can live with it all day long.
Nice.
Yeah, you have done just a little bit of everything, man. Tell me kind of your backstory. What got you cranked up?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, my name is Jean-Pierre Giagnoli. I'm 35 years old, from Los Angeles, California, born in Long Beach, California. A little bit of background there. When I was younger, I was kind of shy and introverted, but I think it was in junior high when I got into choir and started performing, I really felt comfortable on the stage. And that's what kind of gave me the bug, and I continued performing through school, and in high school, I started doing drama and acting. And from there, yeah, I just kind of always had the bug. I've always been very creative. I found out later, my dad left when I was 2, and we met 31 years later. And when I met him, I look exactly like him. I'm a lot like him. He's an actor too, a musician, traveled the world doing music and stuff. So I definitely think I got a lot out of my dad, for sure. Mm-hmm. So definitely a lot there. And yeah, just kind of pursued it. I really wanted to try stand-up comedy. So when I started going to college, I took a stand-up comedy class offered at Cerritos College here in Norwalk, and started performing at local clubs in LA and Long Beach and all over. And yeah, just continued there and just kind of touched on a little bit of everything. I also rap and produce music. Project Bloat is really famous out here in Lamert Park in Los Angeles, and I started freestyling and battling other rappers there and kind of earning a name for myself as someone who had skill and ability. Won a few battles and some cash prizes, which was cool. So yeah, that's kind of a big overview. Another big thing for me, which most people know me for, is I'm actually a paranormal investigator. I have my PhD in parapsychology and run a nonprofit paranormal organization called the Southern California Paranormal Detectives. So I've been doing that for a long time. I was on an episode of Haunted History. They rebooted it for History Channel, and I was on the premiere episode. So yeah, and I was on the Manson Murders, which was really interesting. So it's kind of a quick overview of me. I've definitely taken some acting classes. Most of it is just honing my skills on my own, practicing, just kind of delving into the craft and the history of the craft a lot too. So it's kind of a quick overview of my backstory of how I got into everything.
Cool deal, man. Yeah, you're definitely into everything, that's for sure. You know, I'm not a rapper by no stretch. You know, very little rap I like. You know, I'm just me. You know, it's just not my thing. But I love Eminem, and we were riding along in the car not too long ago, and I've got 2 daughters, and I can't remember which song it was of his came on, and I just started going with him, and my kids' eyes. I mean, an alien could have landed in front of us on the highway and dropped Bigfoot off and left, and my kids' eyes wouldn't have gotten any bigger. Like, you know Eminem, Daddy. Like, yeah. But I can imagine them if I just started busting out my own little rhymes, and they would have a fit. But,
nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's very cool. Yeah, I know for me, I'm definitely not a typical mainstream rap artist. I'm very much, I rap about a lot about social issues, things like that. So I'm very more on what they call conscious rap, which is, a little more serious, talk about serious issues, things like that. So I know that's really important to me. Like I like having a message with music in it. It was definitely difficult finding my voice as a rap artist. Growing up where I grew up in Long Beach and Los Angeles, it was all gangster rap where I grew up, and I wasn't really exposed to a lot of like East Coast music, which is really, a lot of people say I kind of fit more that style because they're usually a little more conscious out there and have more variety than the West Coast, which is known for creating and kind of having a big footprint in the gangster rap genre. So a friend of mine in college introduced me to a rap artist named Immortal Technique. And when I heard him, that just like I had an epiphany where I was just like, this artist has a message in his music, but it's also good and powerful and street, but still conscious and, aware. So that kind of sparked like finding my own voice in the genre itself. So yeah, definitely. A lot of people I've introduced music to who didn't like rap liked a lot of the rap that I introduced them to. They're like, hey, this isn't like, misogynistic, typical like drug, whatever, gunplay rap. It's like, oh, it actually has a message and meaning. So, and my music is in that genre, in that category as well. So, yeah, definitely did something different for sure, and enjoy the lyrical part of it. And definitely, I'm an Eminem fan as well. Can't deny his inspiration and what he gave to the genre itself.
Yeah, that's one thing, talk about finding your voice in any art form or anything. That's something that's extremely important because you don't want to be a cookie cutter. And it's really hard to, because, I've been doing stand up for 30 years, and anybody that's followed me, both the people has, seen my evolution. I've gone from the standard, okay, here's the setup, here's the punch, here's the joke, ha ha ha, to just me. I can't really describe me doing this now. It's just my thing. And over the years, it's kind of like the Bob Dylan thing, or the old movie about John C. Reilly did about Dewey Cox. All the different evolutions.
Yeah.
And it takes forever to find your own voice sometimes, and other times it's like, this is me, boom. And once you do it, that's when your art really starts to flow from you. Just the podcast
true.
here. My first interview, I sat with a friend of mine who's also a comic, and we talked. But after that, my interviews were very more newsy. Like, so where are you from? And now this is a conversation between two guys. That's all this is, and it flows naturally for me. It feels a lot better, and I'm actually getting a lot more hits because of this.
Yeah, nice.
No,
it's true. There's something really profound about being authentic and being yourself.
Yeah.
And that can be huge for you when you are just showing who you truly are and just being natural. That really makes a huge impact when you're being authentic.
Yeah, I mean, people respond when you put yourself out there, and oddly enough, that's the scariest thing in the world, is to just put your true self out there. Because I know doing this, the episode I had that had the most hits forever was one my brother passed away, and it wasn't funny. It wasn't anything funny about the episode. I actually just sat for about 45 minutes and talked about my brother and our issues and our past, and that one just went through the roof. And I'm like, really? And I figured out it's because I wasn't trying to be funny. I wasn't doing this or that. It was just me, letting the people know who's Brad.
Yeah, no, definitely true. Yeah, something too that's very profound for me in the last 2 years of my life, actually, especially when it comes to my career. I literally, at the end of last year, just really came to terms with I was severely abused by my family growing up, and it was so programmed and normalized that I didn't even realize it. Even my wife, when she met me and we started dating, was like, your family's abusive. And I'm like, oh, that's just them. You make excuses for it.
Yeah.
But facing that changed a lot for me, because they were very discouraging of my dreams and ambitions, and the fact that I looked like my father and my grandmother, who did did the abuse hated my father, hated his guts. And actually I found out she's the one who chased him away. She made up this story that he left us in the street and all this kind of stuff. But really, my grandmother has been abusive to lots of people. I found out before I completely cut them off. So that has made a profound change in my life where I'm not as negative about myself because of what the abuse did and the trauma from that. And yeah, I've just taken so many more risks and chances with my career. And yeah, half of the time it surprises me. I was in Ford versus Ferrari. I was one of the main Ferrari guys. I speak Italian fluently. So I shot in that movie for 2 months. I wasn't credited. I had a line, but it got cut. So it was much more of a Ford movie than a Ferrari movie. So they didn't keep as much stuff for the Italian guys as they did for the Ford guys, unfortunately. But it was still an incredible experience. I got to do a scene with John Bernthal. I worked with Christian Bale and Matt Damon, and just I had not done like really acting in I'd say about 5 years before I got that small role, and it really just changed a lot for me. I got all my SAG vouchers off that movie, and just have the confidence. I got directed by James Mangold, and the ADs and everybody on set knew who I was, and it was like, well, Jean-Pierre, okay, we want you to do this. Matt Damon's doing this. We want you to run in front of him, and you don't notice that he's doing this, and blah blah blah. And it was just like, for an actor and somebody who is passionate about it, it was just like almost a surreal experience to be in that moment for 2 months, constantly being called upon to do stuff. And, there was like a crew of 5 guys who spoke Italian, and we pretty much were like the main Ferrari guys who did everything in the movie. So it was, just a great experience for a young actor, and just, gave me more confidence in pursuing what I wanted to do. So definitely have made some huge strides in my career in the last 2 years. Unfortunately, the quarantine has pushed back a little bit, but I've still have had a lot of opportunities. I shot some TV shows. I was on an episode of Buried in the Backyard. It's a crime reenactment show. I shot that. That was the last job I did before the quarantine happened. So that was a lot of fun. I played a circus clown, and this little boy got lost at the circus, and he was eventually kidnapped and killed. And we did like the nice part of it where, we were the clowns at the circus. The boy was like playing around with us, and we were like, doing our little clown thing. And as an actor, for me, that was such a great experience because I already talked about it. I definitely have humor. I think I used humor to cope with a lot of the abuse. And, I definitely have a sense of humor, and it came off so well on that show. Like the director, the camera guys, like the whole crew said they were in stitches the entire time I was performing as the clown. They were just like, you just like your movements, the stuff you were doing, like the camera guys were like, dude, you made it our job so hard. Like I was trying not to laugh while I was holding the camera following you. And I was like, okay, well, this humor thing is definitely within me. If I'm just, I'm kind of a character actor. I kind of just get into my role and do that thing. Yeah. And I don't necessarily aim to be funny or whatever. I just kind of get into the role, get into the character, and do my thing. And I find that whenever I do that, I get like a significant reaction, sometimes more surprising than I expect, which is really great. So definitely have had a lot of fun in the last 2 years and really progressed a lot as an artist and a creative person.
Yeah, doing the character actor thing, I'm starting to want to get into acting a little bit. It's kind of late in life, but that's cool.
Yeah.
And I've been doing some videos on YouTube, just little character videos in front of a green screen I've got down here in the studio. And oddly enough, one of them is a clown. But he's not a normal clown. I'm actually a certified clown. I used to teach fire safety as a clown. And
very cool.
My initial clown's name was Murray. And he was, with a hobo and a tramp clown, a hobo gave up on the world. And a tramp, the world gave up on them. Murray, the feeling was mutual. This is Murray's voice, which is an awesome voice for a clown. Until you realize that it lends itself to cussing really, really, really easy. And I decided I didn't want to get up in front of 1,000 kids to teach them fire safety and say, stop, drop, and roll, you little bastards. But so I shelved him and made a new one. And when I started doing these, he's the only character I've got that I knew what he was going to be. And I've done a lot with him. And he is so much fun to do.
Nice.
He is definitely a different clown. He drinks a fifth of bourbon during the shows. And he is. You got to check him out. It's Brad's Comedy on YouTube. All one word, no apostrophe.
Oh yeah, definitely. I want to. I'd love to see it.
And my other
You
characters,
already made me very interested.
oh, he is. I did a 30-minute Christmas special with him in December.
Nice.
Yeah, but my other characters, I didn't know who they were going to be until I actually put on the wigs or the mustaches or whatever. And they just kind of, I figured out when you do character acting, it's all a piece of you. You know,
Yes.
each one of these guys are all improv and all one take, but that's all a little piece of me in each one of them.
Definitely.
So I love character actors because that's the backbone, you know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, I didn't think of myself when I first started acting as a character actor, but when I took acting classes and I performed and I did student films and I did other projects, everybody was like, yeah, you're definitely a character actor. Like when you're in the character, like that's who we see you as. Like, you know, when I signed with my agent, I'm represented by MPM Models and Talent. And, yeah, they were like, you know, I definitely see you playing, you can play the nice boy next door and you can play the villain. Like the range I have is like, you know, I could be funny or I could be serious and I can do both well. So it's fun to see that I can have a wide range of variety, and it makes being creative exciting because you don't have to just play one stereotype character or one role all the time. You can do different things. So that's what I really love about the medium and being able to have variety in how, you know, I present myself or the character.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. You know, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more out of you.
Yeah, I'm excited for my future, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast, and you know, your compliments as well. I appreciate it.
And the Whistling Kitchen. Tell me a little bit about this because I'm intrigued. You know, the name of this thing ain't smoked meat for no reason. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I shot this a little while back. This is actually at least I was told when I went to go shoot it. We shot at this mansion out in Palo Verde here in California, and it's a cooking show, but it's kind of a little more expansive where there's international people involved in trying this cooked food. So yeah, we shot it for a little bit, and it was a lot of fun because I have a mixed background heritage. I was raised to be Italian, but I did my 23andMe, and I have, you know, my dad's from Argentina. He's Italian. There's some French in there too, obviously Spanish, and a mix of everything. So I actually worked with this company on like a pageant and had me represent France because they already had someone representing Italy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I know a little about my French background. So I have like some traditional French clothing, which is more old-fashioned, and they were looking for international looks for this show, so they ended up calling me to work on it, and I dressed in my traditional French clothing for this, and, you know, we went in for, like, the big party, the cooked all the food, we tried, you know, the different cuisines they made and everything, so it was definitely an interesting show and something different, so it was cool. It was something I didn't know what to expect. It was kind of a last-minute call for the show. And I went in, and it was a fun experience. We got to do a photo shoot as well, so photo shoot was part of the show, and I'm still waiting on the photos for that. With the whole COVID-19 thing, a lot of things have been kind of pushed back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, trust me, I'm elbow deep in this thing. Another thing, you know, kind of segues into the paranormal thing. You know, the haunted history with the Manson murders. If you have to be on an episode, that is the one to be on. How was that?
Really? Yeah, that was a pretty amazing experience. It was I had consulted for a few paranormal TV shows like Paranormal Witness on Sci-Fi. I consulted with them about paranormal stuff, obviously because of my background, and I've done some documentary films and been interviewed for that. But this was more of obviously history did it. It was on H2, so it was a little bit of a bigger production for me as far as the paranormal stuff goes. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of fun. They had contacted me because they heard about my background and everything I did, and I was in close proximity to Los Angeles. Yeah, they called me up. They asked me about it, and I was familiar with Manson and his history. So we actually went out and investigated Spawn Ranch, and that's up in like close to the Northridge area out here in California. Mm-hmm. It's a spot that Manson had stayed for a little bit. It used to be, the property itself used to be an old, like an old Western, you know, movie shooting location. Yeah. Before Manson and his followers kind of took over it, because it was kind of abandoned for a while. There was just, I believe, one man, Shorty Shea, took care of the property, and he kind of let Manson, and his followers, I guess, just kind of stay there and do whatever because it wasn't really being used at the time. But Shorty Shea was actually killed and buried on the property. There's still speculation on whether Manson or one of his followers did it. As far as was admitted, it was that one of Manson's followers actually killed Shorty Shea. But there is rumors that it could have been Manson himself because Shorty Shea was having some problems with him being on the property and making messes and just, making life difficult for him as somebody who took care of the property. But we went out there late at night with my team and all our paranormal equipment. We have EMF meters and infrared night vision cameras, full spectrum cameras, like all kinds of gear we investigate with. So we went out there. We went with a couple of the producers of the show originally just to check out the property. And the people who own the property behind Spawn Ranch, I believe it's the church across the street that actually owns the property. And they're kind of very secretive, and they charge a ton of money just to go on the property behind where Spawn Ranch is located. But Spawn Ranch itself is actually public property, so you can go on there. So we ended up, the producers were like, we don't want to put all this money out we don't know what they have back there, but we know that Spawn Ranch was here and it's public. So they're just like, you guys go out, go with your equipment, investigate, and bring back whatever you find, and then, we'll film it for the show. So we ended up doing that. We asked some questions. There's a famous rock there where Manson and his followers took a picture all together, and it's still there. It's a little corroded obviously over time, but you could tell that's the spot still. And when we were asking questions to our EMF meter, which measures the electromagnetic field, it lights up all the way to red. There's varying levels that it lights up. We were asking questions with that, and when we asked if Manson or Shorty Shea had been killed on the property, the meter started lighting up, and we did some tests for posterity to make sure that we weren't having any kind of weird interference, and that the evidence that we caught was more legitimate. And it seemed like it was, because we didn't really get responses consistently enough, and it sounded like it was responding to what we were asking. So they put that on the episode and interviewed me about why spirits stay where they stay on the in places and locations. So it was definitely a great experience. From what I know, it's one of the most popular episodes of the reboot of Haunted History. And to this day, I still have people by chance, watching the episode and going, "Hey, Jean-Pierre, I just saw, your episode of Haunted History." I was like, "What? I know that guy." So it's kind of nice, even years later, that people are still watching the episode and seeing me and, either calling me or texting me or messaging me that, they saw me on the episode of Haunted History. So it was definitely a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of history. Even though I only was interviewed particularly about Spawn Ranch, I actually shot the entire Manson episode. So every location they went to, most of them. I think one I didn't go to because it was like in Death Valley. And that was just a long location, and I couldn't get the time off of work at the time to get out there. But I went to David Olson's house, where it's, I think, across the street from where Sharon Tate was killed and all that. So it's close to that area. So I went with them to a few locations, but because we did the most with Spawn Ranch, that's where me, my brother, and my tech guy were all interviewed about what we experienced when we were there. So
outstanding. Yeah, I've loved ghost hunting for a good while. I had a friend that before all the shows and everything came out, he moved down from Ohio, and we got to talking, and he was telling me about doing it when he was younger, and I'm like, man, we got to try this. So we went out. We had just basically our cell phone cameras, and we bought a small digital recorder. And like I say, it's a lot of fun. You learn a lot of stuff about places. You learn a lot about yourself too. And we started getting all the equipment. We had the EMF detectors. You name it, we had it. We built the Frank's box, and we had a lot of fun with it until it almost became like a business. We had a nice little group going we actually called it Unexplained South, and it almost became like a business, that would never make money. We wasn't trying to make money off of it, but the most fun I've had is just going out with my cell phone and a little recorder. But
definitely.
I've got a new recorder now that I actually use it for remote podcasts. But the neat thing about it is I can plug my headphones into it and hear everything real time. So I'm wanting to take it out with me to see if I can hear EVPs real time, because that would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because usually you have to sift through all the audio and then see if you find anything. So I definitely am familiar with that. And going back to the business part, I actually run a 501c3 nonprofit. So it is like a business. But yeah, same thing. We don't charge for our services or anything like that. We're just trying to help people who are dealing with the unexplained, and we've been doing it for years. So we find that most people just want validation in what they're experiencing, because it's still a taboo subject to a lot of people, and they don't know where to turn and how to deal with it, and a lot of people brush it off. So I think it's just comforting to have someone come in with knowledge and experience with it, and kind of tell people what it is and try to figure out what it is. So
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, have you ever had anything physical happen to you while you were doing it?
There was one intense case. I haven't had much. I've been told by spiritual people that I have authority on the other side, so it's rare for things to happen to me, and it is usually, I've seen a lot of stuff since I was a young child. My family kind of all have abilities. But one case we did in Bellflower, California was very intense. It was like the only time something actually happened to me. Mm-hmm. We were investigating this house. Stuff was happening, like immediately when we showed up, like a chair, this metal chair on the balcony of this house, like scooted across the balcony by itself. And we had, we just got there, so it's not like we could catch it on camera. We weren't in a position because it was on the second floor. Mm-hmm. But we set up a camera there to try and catch it later. Of course, typical, it didn't happen again after that. Yeah, this stuff knows and it wants to mess with you. Yep. But about 4 a.m. we heard some, it sounded like Native American chanting throughout the neighborhood. And a couple of us jumped in cars, a couple of us went on foot, and we just went around the neighborhood at 4 a.m. trying to find where the source of this sound came from, and we couldn't. And it doesn't make any sense. There shouldn't have been nothing going on at 4 a.m. in the middle of the week. So we get back to the house, and we realize my wife, who's part of the team, was missing. And it's like, I thought she was with you. No, I thought she was with you. And we had taken a break around that time. We stopped at 7-Eleven, got some ices and snacks, just kind of keep ourselves awake. Mm-hmm. And her icy was sitting in the middle of the street. And so we all got to the house, and where's she? Okay, let's go back out. We run back out, and all of a sudden she's standing at the end of the block on the corner. And we ran up to her. We're like, where have you been? We were looking for you. And she's like, oh, I've been here the whole time. It's like, no, my tech guy drove by in his truck. You weren't there. We walked that path and you weren't there. And she was just like, oh, I don't know. But she was acting kind of strange, not like she was possessed or anything, but just kind of strange. Like she was trying to figure out what happened too. Mm-hmm. So she's like, don't worry about it. Let's just go back to the house and investigate. So went back into the home, started wrapping up our investigation, talking about what we experienced that night, because we had quite a few things actually happen. We witnessed stuff. We didn't capture a lot of evidence, really, no EVPs or anything like that, but the personal experiences were through the roof that night. So as we're breaking down, my wife's talking to me, and she said, well, for 15 minutes, which was about the time that we didn't know where she was, she said it was just pitch black. And she felt like someone breathing on her face, very close, but she didn't know where she was or what or who that was. Mm. So she was explaining that to me. We're breaking down our equipment, all that kind of stuff. Well, during this investigation through the night, the homeowner's sister came in the house, who lives there as well. And she works a job that I don't want to say, but it's not the nicest job to have, I guess, for a person. At least society wouldn't think so. When she comes home super late, she walks by us. It was just kind of weird because our eyes were adjusted to the darkness in the house. We had our infrared running and stuff, our cameras. And, we heard the door close, but she went right past us, and none of us felt or saw her. And we're just we just kind of got a weird vibe. And we started talking to the homeowner, and she said, yeah, her sister's been involved with some witchcraft or something like that. Something that was definitely not good. Mm. And it's okay. So anyway, we're breaking down our equipment, all that kind of stuff. I'm taking down a camera in the stairwell. And all of a sudden, I feel like something huge is running at me, coming at me from upstairs. And all of a sudden, this little petite girl just walks past me, but I just felt a very intense energy. And I was just okay, I'm pretty sure she's the source of what's going on here. Just based on what I felt, there's just something different about her. And for some reason, while we were breaking down our equipment, she only was focused on me. Her head, her eyes were following. I went behind walls, breaking down all our cameras, all our equipment, and she wouldn't take her eyes off of me, and I'm just like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Finally, I had to put a piece of equipment away in a bag in one of the Pelican cases that we have that was close to her on the couch. So I went there, put the equipment in, and caught eyes with her for maybe what was like 5 seconds, probably, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I got really short of breath. I couldn't breathe. My eyes started watering. My chest felt super tight, like it was burning. And I was just like, it was the first time I ran out of the house. I had to, just because I felt unsafe at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran out of the house. My wife followed me and said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I can breathe now." But when I caught eyes with her, like my chest got super tight. It felt like it was burning and like I couldn't breathe. So they were like, "Just stay out here. We're going to get the rest of the equipment and, just wrap it up." So we get home. We sleep it off because it was a long morning. And when we wake up, I have a circular burn mark in the middle of my chest, right where I felt the burning sensation. Mm-hmm. My wife's wristwatch was 15 minutes behind the exact time she was missing. So that was really strange. And we had pictures of it on an old digital camera. And of course, the SD card freaking was messed up, so I couldn't get the photos off of it. So that kind of sucked to lose that evidence. We took pictures of everything, the watch, the burn mark. It eventually just cleared up, but it was a circular burn mark on my chest. It was very visible, very clear what it was. So that was probably one of the more intense cases where I had something happen to me, because it's very rare. I think there's like a case early on when I just started doing it that like I felt my arm get grabbed by something, but nothing as intense and, as that case, definitely.
Yeah. The only thing I've ever had happen, I've always followed the number one rule, and, all my people that we were with, never investigate your own house. And,
oh, yeah.
And we were actually at one of our guys' houses, and he said, "Let's do it." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, it's on you." And I was sitting in one of his bedrooms, just in one of the big Pompazon chairs, just being quiet, listening, recording. And my back started burning really, really bad. And, I got up and I went out in the hallway. I said, "Come see what this is." And he turned on the light, and we were standing there, and I raised my shirt up, and I had 4 lines down my back about 6-8 inches long. He said, "It looked like something scratched you." Now I'm sitting in this chair, sitting still, and it's still burning. And then I heard him say, "Holy shit." I said, "What?" And he sat and watched a 5th line just go down beside the other ones. So that was kind of weird. We never did figure that out. But a little on the weird side.
Yeah, definitely. And that's interesting because every case I've dealt with, I've had a few cases where I've seen clients get scratches while we were there standing with them. So, they couldn't have done it or anything. Mm-hmm. And everybody describes the same thing. They just feel kind of this burning sensation. All of a sudden, they realize, like when the air hits the wound, if they're scratched, that like they feel that kind of like, feeling that they have a cut. So it's interesting that you describe it the same way I've had it described to me as well.
Yeah, it was really weird. It wasn't nothing deep or huge. It just, boom, it was there. And we got pictures of it. And when we did organized investigations, we were really good about all of our evidence. When we did things like that, we said, "Hey, let's do this." We were really, really horrible about saving things or remembering where we saved them. And so I don't have those pictures anymore, which sucks, but it is what it is,
Yeah.
If you ever get over here to Georgia, we will find some places to do.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I was. Derek is the one who got me in contact with you. I know he does a lot of stuff, and he was telling me, he wants to fly me out to Florida to do some stand-up once the quarantine's lifted and everything. Mm-hmm. And he was saying he wants to take me to a lot of haunted places out there. So I was definitely excited about that.
Yeah, we've got a couple in Thompson, where I'm actually from, near Augusta, that they were kind of our go-tos.
Nice.
One of them was the oldest freestanding structure in Georgia, called the Rock House. Gotten a lot of good EVPs out there. And we have an old Quaker settlement there, which is basically a cemetery and a couple of the buildings still. And we're one of the only people that have permission to actually do the cemetery and the buildings, which is awesome, because I always get permission, because if I go to jail, it's not going to be for ghost hunting. It's going to be for something with a lot of style. People in Seattle are going to read about it and go, "Holy crap." But, I actually took my kids out there to that cemetery one day, my wife and kids, before it got dark, just to let them do it, you know. My
Yeah.
daughters, holy crap, especially my youngest one, got some amazing EVPs.
Nice.
And but yeah, that's been my main source of evidence. I've done a lot of EVPs. I usually get really good clear ones, but I've
Nice.
gotten one
Yeah,
or
they're
two
the most
pictures.
common. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a lot as well. I'd say that's probably my best form of evidence as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, cool deal, man. Well, I tell you, I'm looking forward to you coming out this way. We will get together. But I've had a great time today. I'm definitely going to have you back on the podcast because, I mean, shoot, I'm always up for a good guest.
Definitely. I appreciate the time. If you want to find out more about me, I really have all my stuff on my main website, which is mcpierre.com. That's www. The letter M, the letter C, PIERRE.com, and I have my music on there, my rap music. I also have links to my stand-up comedy, to my paranormal stuff because we did a web series, and my acting and all that stuff. So you can find all my info on that website.
Very cool. And I'm going to put that in the show notes too. So, man, I've had a great time today. And if, like I say, you are always welcome back on here.
Definitely. I'll definitely be in touch with you as well. I'll keep you posted when, me and Derek start working together, and I'm heading out your way, and we'll definitely link up again.
Outstanding.